When I, Emily, found out that my husband Richard and my sister Kate were planning to steal $5 million from the family business and run away, I thought it was the worst. But the truth turned out to be worse. They had been leading a double life for years, and I was just a front. At 45, I was left with debts, broken trust, and 3 children who despised me. But I decided to fight, and I turned their plan upside down. My name's Emily Wilson, I'm 45, and I live in a quiet suburb just outside Seattle, a place where the rain never stops, and neither do the bills. For the last 20 years, I've been married to Richard, a real estate hotshot who's always chasing the next big deal. We've got 3 kids, Julia, 19, who's off at college, Tom, 17, who's glued to his Xbox, and little Sarah, 10, who still thinks I'm the coolest mom ever. Life wasn't perfect, but it worked, until recently, when the cracks started showing. Richard's been distant, always working late, and our bank account's been shrinking faster than I can explain. Then there's my older sister, Kate, 47, who's been hovering around us like a shadow lately. She's single, childless, and has a knack for pointing out how lucky I am to have this life. But something's off, and I'm starting to wonder if luck's got nothing to do with it. It all hit me a few months back. Richard came home from one of his business trips smelling like expensive cologne I didn't recognize, definitely not the Old Spice I bought him for years. I asked where he'd been, and he just shrugged, muttering something about a client dinner in Tacoma. "Don't overthink it, Em," he said, flashing that charming smile that used to melt me. But this time, it didn't. The next day, I found a crumpled receipt in his jacket pocket, $200 at some swanky bar in Portland. Portland? He hadn't mentioned Portland in months. When I pressed him, he got defensive, saying, "You're always digging for something that's not there." Maybe he was right. Or maybe I'd been too busy juggling carpools and grocery runs to see what was right in front of me. Then there's Kate. She's always been the sharp-tongued one, the sister who'd tease me about my perfect little family while sipping her 3rd glass of Pinot at Thanksgiving. She lives alone in a sleek condo in Tacoma, about 40 minutes from us, and lately, she's been popping by more than usual. "Just checking in," she'd say, bringing over casseroles I didn't ask for or inviting us to her place for dinner. At first, I thought she was lonely. Her dating life's been a revolving door of bad choices since her 30s. But last week, when she showed up unannounced with a bottle of wine and a weirdly smug grin, I caught her eyeing Richard a little too long as he fixed her a drink. "You two are so cute together," she said, her voice dripping with something I couldn't place. Cute? We hadn't been cute since Sarah was in diapers. The money thing's been gnawing at me too. Richard's business, Wilson Realty, was built from scratch with my late dad, a guy who believed hard work could turn nothing into something. It's been our lifeline, paying for Julia's tuition and Tom's braces. But last month, I logged into our joint account to cover Sarah's soccer fees, and half our savings were gone, $30,000, just poof. Richard brushed it off as a slow quarter, but I've seen the fancy new watch on his wrist and the leather briefcase he didn't have before. When I asked about it, he snapped, "Stop playing detective, Emily. I've got this under control." Control? Funny, because it feels like everything's slipping away. Kate didn't help. Over coffee at her place, I vented about the missing money. She leaned back in her chair, twirling a strand of her perfectly dyed blonde hair, and said, "Maybe you're too hard on him. Men like Richard need space to breathe." Space? He's had plenty of that lately, late nights, locked phone screens, excuses piling up like laundry I can't keep up with. Her words stuck with me, though, not because they made sense, but because they didn't. Why was she defending him? Why did she care so much about my marriage all of a sudden? The kids have noticed too. Julia called from college last week, asking why her meal plan payment bounced. Dad said it was handled, she grumbled. Tom's been quieter than usual, sneaking glances at us over dinner like he's waiting for a bomb to drop. Even Sarah asked, "Why's Daddy always mad?" I didn't have an answer, just a fake smile and a promise to figure it out. But deep down, I knew something was rotting in our little suburban dream. Richard's hiding something, Kate's too close for comfort, and I'm stuck in the middle, wondering how long I've been blind to the mess unraveling around me. Little did I know, the truth was about to hit harder than a Pacific Northwest storm, and it'd leave me questioning everything I thought I knew about family. The rain was pounding my windshield the day I decided to stop pretending everything was fine. I'm Emily Wilson, 45, stuck in a crumbling marriage to Richard, my real estate mogul husband, and lately, every conversation with him feels like walking on eggshells. After finding that Portland bar receipt in his jacket, I couldn't shake the feeling he was lying. So, I asked him again that night, standing in our dimly lit kitchen in suburban Seattle. Richard, why were you in Portland? You said you were in Tacoma. He didn't even look up from his phone, just scoffed and said, "It's work, Em. You wouldn't get it." Wouldn't get it? I've balanced our books for years while he chased commissions. I pressed harder, and he slammed his coffee mug on the counter, spilling black drips everywhere. Drop it, okay? I'm not your suspect. His eyes were cold, like I was the stranger here, not him. That same week, the money problems got louder. Julia, our 19-year-old, texted me in a panic from college, "Mom, my tuition payment's late. They're threatening to drop my classes." I called Richard at his office, but he brushed it off again. "It's a glitch with the bank. I'll handle it." Handle it? Like he handled the $30,000 that vanished from our savings? I logged into our account, another $20,000 gone, withdrawn in cash 2 days earlier. No explanation, no heads up. When I confronted him that night, he spun a new story. "It's an investment, Em. You'll thank me when it pays off." An investment he couldn't name, with no paperwork? I wasn't buying it, but he stormed out before I could push further, leaving me staring at a sink full of dishes and a sinking feeling in my gut. Then there's Kate, my 47-year-old sister, who's been circling us like a hawk. She showed up uninvited the next day, her Tacoma condo apparently too quiet for her liking. She breezed into our living room with a tray of store-bought cookies, acting like she owned the place. "You look stressed, Em," she said, plopping onto our couch. "Maybe you should ease up on Richard. He's under a lot of pressure." Pressure? I bit my tongue, but her tone grated on me, too smooth, too rehearsed. I mentioned the missing money, testing her reaction. She just shrugged, twirling her wine glass. "He's a big boy. I'm sure he knows what he's doing." Her casual dismissal lit a spark of doubt. Why was she so quick to defend him? And why did she keep glancing at his office door like she knew something I didn't? The tension hit a new high at our family barbecue that weekend. Richard insisted on hosting, claiming it'd lighten the mood. Kate came too, of course, wearing a tight dress that screamed midlife crisis. I caught them by the grill, him flipping burgers, her laughing too loud at some joke I didn't hear. Their shoulders brushed, and she lingered there, her hand grazing his arm. It wasn't flirty exactly, but it wasn't innocent either. I watched from the patio, Sarah tugging at my sleeve for more lemonade, while my stomach twisted. Tom noticed too. He's 17 and sharper than he lets on. "Why's Aunt Kate always here?" he muttered, kicking a soccer ball against the fence. I didn't have an answer, just a forced smile as I poured Sarah's drink. Later, I found Richard's phone buzzing on the counter. A text from Kay, "Call me when she's asleep." Kay? Kate's initial flashed in my mind, but I shoved it down. I'm not that paranoid, right? I didn't unlock it, didn't need to. The pieces were piling up, the late nights, the money, Kate's sudden closeness. That night, he came home past midnight, claiming a client meeting. I asked where, and he snapped, "Downtown." Stop grilling me, Emily. Downtown Seattle's a big place, too big for no details. I lay awake after, his snores filling the room, wondering if I was losing my mind or my marriage. The kids were fraying too. Julia called again, furious. "Dad says it's your fault the tuition's late." "What's going on?" Tom started skipping dinner, holing up in his room. Sarah drew a picture at school, our family, but Richard's face was scribbled out. He's never home, she said, her voice small. I hugged her, promising it'd get better, but I wasn't sure it would. Kate called the next morning, all chipper. Let's do lunch, Em. You need a break. A break? I needed answers. As I hung up, I spotted Richard's briefcase by the door, unlocked for once. My hands shook as I opened it, revealing a bank statement I didn't recognize. $50,000 transferred to an account in Tacoma. Tacoma, where Kate lives. The rain outside roared louder, but it was nothing compared to the storm brewing in me. I'm Emily Wilson, 45, and I thought I knew my life, married to Richard, raising 3 kids in our Seattle suburb, tolerating my sister Kate's constant meddling. But that illusion shattered the night I found the truth. It started with that bank statement in Richard's briefcase, $50,000 funneled to an account in Tacoma, where Kate lives. My hands trembled as I stared at it, the numbers blurring under our kitchen's flickering light. I'd been piecing it together, the late nights, the missing money, Kate's smug smiles, but this was a gut punch. I didn't confront him yet. I needed proof, something concrete to shove in his face when he tried to lie his way out again. The next morning, Richard left early, muttering about a big meeting. Perfect timing. His laptop was still on the dining table, logged in, a rare slip for a guy who'd started password protecting everything. I hesitated, then clicked his email. What I found wasn't just a smoking gun, it was a whole arsenal. Messages between him and Kate, stretching back 2 years. Can't wait to get out of here, babe, he wrote last month. Her reply, $5 million, and we're free. She'll never see it coming. My breath caught. $5 million? That wasn't just our savings, that was Wilson Realty, the company he'd built with my dad. They were planning to drain it and run. It got worse. I scrolled further, and there were photos, Richard and Kate on a beach in Mexico, arms around each other, dated 2 summers ago. I'd been recovering from a nasty flu that week, stuck in bed while he worked. Worked? He'd been sipping margaritas with my sister while I begged him to pick up Sarah from school. Another email laid out their scheme, fake invoices, shell accounts, even a plan to sell our house, my house, and claim it as a business loss. Kate had pushed him to transfer the deed to her name months ago, saying it'd protect us from taxes. Protect them, more like. I was their cover, their clueless pawn. I sat there, numb, as the kids shuffled downstairs. Julia, 19, grabbed a bagel, oblivious. Tom, 17, barely grunted a hello. Sarah, 10, hugged me, asking why I looked sad. Just tired, sweetie, I lied, my voice cracking. I couldn't tell them, not yet. But the rage was building, a slow burn that made my hands shake as I closed the laptop. Richard came home that afternoon, all smiles, tossing his keys on the counter. Good day, Em, he asked, like nothing was wrong. I wanted to scream, but I played along, nodding stiffly. I needed more, something to nail them both. That night, Kate called, her voice syrupy. Dinner at my place tomorrow? Bring the kids. I agreed, forcing a laugh, but my mind was racing. This was my chance. The next evening, we piled into the car, me, Julia, Tom, Sarah, and drove to Tacoma. Kate's condo smelled like garlic and deceit as she greeted us, hugging Richard a beat too long. I watched them over dinner, her smirking as he praised her lasagna. Then it happened. Tom, fiddling with his phone, accidentally connected to her Bluetooth speaker. A voicemail blared, Richard's voice, low and urgent. Kate, the transfer's set for Friday, $5 mill clears, and we're on a plane. Emily's clueless, she's too busy playing mom. The room froze. Julia dropped her fork. Tom's jaw tightened. Sarah whispered, Daddy? Kate lunged for the speaker, fumbling to shut it off, but the damage was done. Richard's face drained of color as he stammered, That's not, it's a joke, Em. A joke? I stood, my chair scraping the floor. $5 million and a plane ticket, that's your punchline? Kate tried to cut in, her voice shrill. You're overreacting. It's not what you think. But I'd heard enough. I grabbed the kids' coats, my voice steady despite the chaos in my chest. We're leaving. Now. Julia glared at her dad, Tom shoved past Kate, and Sarah clung to me, confused. Back home, I locked myself in the bathroom, the kids' shouts echoing downstairs, Julia yelling at Richard over the phone, Tom slamming doors. I sank to the floor, clutching that bank statement, the emails burned into my brain. They betrayed me, the kids, my dad's legacy, all for a getaway I'd never suspected. But this wasn't the end. I wiped my tears, stood up, and dialed a number I hadn't used in years, my dad's old lawyer. If Richard and Kate thought they'd break me, they were dead wrong. The storm was here, and I was about to strike back. I'm Emily Wilson, 45, and the night I heard Richard's voice plotting with my sister Kate to steal $5 million and ditch me, something inside me snapped. I'd been the trusting wife, the overworked mom, the sister who ignored the red flags, but no more. After that disastrous dinner at Kate's Tacoma condo, where the kids and I heard his voicemail spill their scheme, I drove us back to our Seattle suburb in silence. Julia, 19, stared out the window, her fists clenched. Tom, 17, muttered curses under his breath. Sarah, 10, sobbed into my sleeve, asking, "Why does Daddy hate us?" I didn't have an answer, just a fire in my chest that wouldn't let me crumble. Richard showed up an hour later, banging on the door like he still owned the place. Let me explain, he shouted. I opened it, arms crossed, the bank statement and laptop screenshots in my hand. Explain Mexico 2 years ago, I said, voice low. Explain selling our house to Kate. Explain stealing from your own kids. His face twisted, shock, then anger. You went through my stuff? That's low, even for you. Low? I laughed, bitter and sharp. Not as low as screwing my sister and robbing us blind. He lunged for the papers, but I yanked them back. Get out, I hissed. He didn't, just stood there, red-faced, until Tom stormed in, shoving him toward the door. You heard her, Dad. Leave. Richard glared, then left, tires squealing as he peeled away. Kate called next, her voice a mix of panic and venom. You're blowing this out of proportion, Em. We weren't serious. Not serious. I hung up, hands shaking, and called my dad's old lawyer, Mark. He met me the next morning, poring over the evidence, emails, bank transfers, that damning voicemail I'd recorded at Kate's. This is felony territory, he said, adjusting his glasses. Wire fraud, embezzlement, FBI-level stuff. You want to press charges? I nodded, jaw tight. They don't get to walk away. Mark made calls, and by noon, federal agents were involved. But I wasn't done, I wanted them to face me first. Richard's client appreciation party was that Friday, a glitzy affair at his downtown office. He'd planned it as their cover, schmooze the partners, then disappear with the money. I crashed it, Mark and 2 agents in tow. The room buzzed with suits and champagne until I stepped in, holding a USB drive. Richard froze mid-toast, Kate at his side in a red dress that screamed desperation. Emily, what the hell, he started, but I cut him off, plugging the drive into the projector. The voicemail played, his voice booming, $5 mil clears, and we're on a plane. Emily's clueless. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Kate's glass slipped, shattering on the floor. It's fake, she screeched, but I held up the bank records next, $5 million siphoned through fake invoices, half already in a Cayman account. The room erupted. Partners shouted questions, one grabbed Richard's arm. He yanked free, lunging at me. You bitch, you'll ruin everything. An agent stepped in, pinning him back. Kate tried to bolt, heels clacking, but another agent blocked the door. Lisa Anderson, you're under arrest, he said, her legal name, not the Kate she flaunted. Handcuffs clicked as she screamed, "This is her fault." I stood there, heart pounding, watching them dragged out. Julia, who'd insisted on coming, hugged me, tears streaking her face. "I'm sorry I doubted you, Mom." Tom stayed home with Sarah, but he'd texted, "Make them pay." The fallout hit hard. Partners pulled funding, clients bailed, Wilson Realty teetered on collapse. The kids were wrecks. Julia blamed herself for not seeing it, Tom punched a hole in his wall, Sarah drew pictures of broken hearts. I locked myself in the bathroom that night, sobbing into a towel. I'd won, but it didn't feel like victory. My marriage was ash, my sister a traitor, my kids scarred. The house, our last asset, was in Kate's name, tangled in legal limbo. Mark promised we'd fight for it, but all I could think was how I'd trusted them both, Richard's charm, Kate's support, and they'd gutted me. As the agents hauled them away, Richard's last glare burned into me, "You'll regret this." Maybe. But I regretted trusting him more. I'm Emily Wilson, 45, and after exposing my husband Richard and sister Kate's plot to steal $5 million and flee, I thought the hardest part was over. That night at his office party, watching them cuffed and dragged out while partners gaped and my daughter Julia clung to me, felt like a win. But the real battle started after, in the quiet wreckage of our Seattle suburban life. The FBI seized Richard's laptop, bank records, everything. Within weeks, they confirmed it, $5 million siphoned from Wilson Realty, my dad's legacy, funneled through fake vendors and offshore accounts. Richard and Kate faced trial, wire fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy. The judge didn't flinch, 12 years each, no parole for at least 8. Justice, sure, but it didn't erase the scars they'd left. The fallout was brutal. Wilson Realty tanked, partners bailed, contracts evaporated. I fought to salvage it, hiring Mark, my dad's lawyer, to claw back what I could. We traced $2 million, enough to keep the lights on, but the house was gone. Kate's name on the deed meant it was seized as evidence. Me and the kids, Julia, 19, Tom, 17, and Sarah, 10, moved into a cramped rental in Bellevue. Boxes stacked in corners, mattresses on the floor. Julia took it hard, blaming herself for not noticing Dad's lies. "I should have known," she'd whisper, staring at old photos. Tom turned quiet, his anger simmering. He'd stopped calling Richard Dad, just him. Sarah asked every night, "When's home coming back?" I'd hug her, promising we'd build a new one, even if I wasn't sure how. Richard's last call came from jail, a month after the sentencing. "You happy now, Em? Ruined us all?" His voice dripped with venom. I didn't flinch. "You ruined us when you chose Kate over your family." I hung up, hands steady. Kate tried too, sending a letter, 6 pages of excuses, claiming Richard manipulated her. "I'm still your sister," she wrote. I burned it in the sink, watching the ashes curl. They'd played me for years, Mexico trips while I nursed fevers, fake smiles at barbecues, draining our future for their fantasy. Forgiveness? Not a chance. The kids struggled, but they adapted. Julia deferred college a semester, working part-time at a coffee shop to help out. She'd bring home leftover pastries, forcing a smile. "We're tougher than them, Mom." Tom got a job at an auto shop, tinkering with engines. He'd always been good with his hands. One night, he fixed our rattling heater, grinning for the first time in months. "Guess I'm the man of the house now." Sarah started drawing again, bright pictures of us 4, no Richard, no Kate. "This is our family," she said, taping one to the fridge. It stung, but it healed too. I took over Wilson Realty, learning the ropes with Mark's help. Late nights poring over ledgers, cold calls to old clients, grueling, but I kept it afloat. We're small now, just a few properties, but it's mine. The kids pitched in, Julia handled social media, Tom ran errands, Sarah stuffed envelopes with flyers. We'd sit around our tiny table, eating takeout, laughing about dumb stuff like Tom's grease-stained shirts. It wasn't the life I'd planned, but it was ours. Last month, we visited my dad's grave, me and the kids, laying flowers on the stone. He'd be proud of you, Julia said, squeezing my hand. I nodded, tears welling. He'd built this company from nothing, I'd rebuild it too. Richard and Kate? They're rotting in cells 200 miles apart, him in Walla Walla, her in Spokane. Word is, they blame each other. Richard says Kate cooked up the plan, Kate swears he forced her. Doesn't matter. They lost everything, money, freedom, us. I heard from Mark that Kate's condo's up for auction, Richard's fancy watch sold to cover legal fees. Meanwhile, I got a call last week, an old client, wanting to list a house. Heard you're the real deal now, Emily, he said. I smiled, something I hadn't done much lately. Maybe I was. Looking back, I see it, how blind I'd been to Richard's charm, Kate's jabs. But I'm not that woman anymore. The kids and I, we're scratched up but standing. Our rental's got leaky pipes and thin walls, but it's home. The business is shaky, but it's growing. We're not rich, not whole, but we're real. And that's enough. Richard and Kate thought they'd break us, they didn't. We're the ones who rose from their ashes, stronger than they'll ever know.